Okay. Is Kurt on now?
I'm on, I think.
Yeah, looks like he's there.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready.
All right. Okay. Yes, I'd like to start the board meeting. It's 6 o'clock, and we're ready to go. So we'll move to the first item on the agenda, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Got my flag handy. So a nice one there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
for all. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for the people of Kyiv, and all the folks in the war in Ukraine. Okay, thank you. You want to do a roll call there, Nate?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's see here. Director Dodds. Okay, can't hear you, but Director Landon.
Present, sorry, I'm here.
Director Landon.
here.
Director Meyer. Director O'Connell.
Here.
And Director Van Rys is absent, correct?
Correct.
All right.
We may try to get on in later, but
Okay.
okay. Agenda amendments. Do you have any amendments to the agenda?
The only thing I would like to do is remove item 5.9, the type 6 engine, and item 5.10 Chief's vehicle, and table those to the next meeting.
Okay.
Chief and Chair Pat, there is one more item, 1.3, before we get to agenda amendments.
1.3.
Which is the overview of the virtual meeting process.
I can't hear you, so.
There's one more item before we get to the agenda amendments. 1.3, virtual meeting process.
Okay.
And Chief, I'm not sure if you want to do that or if you like me to just give a quick summary.
You can go ahead and do that.
Perfect.
Wouldn't mind.
Chair and the rest of the board and members of the public, you do notice a slight change from past board meetings. So I just want to thank the chief and the board members for this opportunity to assist Branson 40 Fire. This district and LAFCO continues to work together to improve internal operations under the adopted pre-reorganization agreement, which allows LAFCO to provide admin assistance. One example is helping operate these virtual meetings. Under the agreement, LAFCO is sharing its Zoom webinar account at no charge to the district. Under this Zoom webinar platform, the board members and staff will have complete control over their webcams and microphones. For everyone else, the microphones and webcams are disabled. However, members of the public can still see and hear the entire meeting. Also, members of the public will have an opportunity to address the board on any agenda item. This can be done by raising your hand by clicking the raise hand button. For those joining us over the phone, pressing *9 will raise your hand. After the chief and the chair acknowledges the individual, that person will have up to 3 minutes to provide comments. Staff will inform the person when they have 1 minute left and will let them know when their time is up. And finally, for any agenda item that requires board action, a roll call vote will be administered by staff. This will make it clear for the record whether an item passes or not. And Chief, that concludes my summary of the virtual meeting process. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions out there?
I don't see any questions. Now we can proceed to the next item.
All right.
We did want to make sure that there was any opposition to moving the 2 agenda items to the next board meeting. Do not hear any.
None? All right. Okay,
Have we received any requests to address the board on an agenda item?
no, we have not.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on a non-agenda item?
There are no requests to address the commission at this time or the board at this time.
No requests. Okay. If none, we want to conduct a roll call vote to approve the consent calendar.
We can do that. Let's go, Director Dodds,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yay.
Director Meyer, did we lose Director Meyer? Chair O'Connell?
Aye.
Okay. So that's 3. Okay,
Okay, agenda posted. There are 9 items require discussion and potential action. Remind the audience and the board that number 5.9 and 10 were moved. The next item is to ratify the interim fire chief contract and request a staff presentation. So,
okay. Oh, go ahead.
The interim chief fire contract, I believe we talked about this some last meeting, but Chief Lackey has now accepted the interim fire chief's position and is now, while covering shifts as his regular duty shifts, he's also functioning as a fire chief. So we did have a contract, an agreement that he has signed and we've agreed to. So that's in order and in position. As far as the chief goes, he's going to be attending all of the meetings that are required of someone in the position of chief. So it's going to be a busy time for him. He's got his regular shifts and the fire chief duties to perform. So far, things have been going pretty well. And is there any questions of the public about about the process? Okay.
No questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Right.
Okay.
All right. 5.2. So in front of the board, you guys should have a schedule for the 2022 schedule for the board meetings for the year. Just if you guys approve it. Any questions?
Are you accepting a motion on the approval of this?
Yes. And then we'll need a
move.
voice vote.
Move it.
I had a question.
Go ahead, Dick.
I was wondering if Nate's getting any help from Scotts Valley and Chief Whittle in the transition. Has he had contact and help from Scotts Valley?
Yes, I've gotten some help from Scotts Valley and LAFCO.
That's good. Thank you.
Do I have a motion for the?
We have a motion from Board Member Dodds, and we just need a second.
I'll second.
Director Meyer?
Second.
Okay. And a voice vote or a roll call vote?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. 5.3. It's a request for proposal to hire an outside consultant firm to produce a benefit assessment study. Nate, you want to give us a bit description there?
Yeah, so in front of you, you have a request for proposal we would like to put out for a study to determine what it will cost the members of the district to add staff, an additional 3 firefighters to our staff. We're requesting that the responses be due by July 1st so we can have time to review them and make a selection.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, am I looking at this correctly? The professional services engineering study for special benefits and assessment? What
For its benefit assessment.
special benefit assessments are, is that what we're speaking of?
Yes,
Okay, within there, we're gonna be hiring some fellas, like experienced firemen, I guess, part-time. So we don't have to pay in PERS. Is that the
no,
plan?
that's not this one. This is regarding the assessment of what it will cost to hire firefighters and what it will end up for the tax measure.
And the tax measure, right? You mean, and
Correct.
the consultant to,
Yes.
yeah. Well, okay, a couple of things. I did notice that there was a note about the strike teams or the wildland firefighters program was canceled. I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm trying to put this all together here. If you guys will give me a second. In short, this one resolution is going to hire some fellas, firefighters at, or women at $25 an hour and keep them under 99 hours. It's going to eat up a lot of our balance that we have in our account. And to that, just that one thing, there's a lot in this piece of paper here. To just that one point, you know, I know
Dick?
during excuse me.
Dick, we actually had to vote on one item about this for this consulting proposal. We have to vote on that and then talk about the temporary firefighter program.
Okay, so right now,
It's two separate things.
Two separate things.
okay, I see it in one, it's put together, special benefits, professional service, okay. And okay, fine. Two things. We're just talking about this, basically a consultant to
Basically, yes.
introduce a new parcel tax for every Happy Valley parcel in our district, every parcel. It has come to my attention. I heard that, I mean, this is what Chief Whittle was kind of talking about, was like $1,000 tax that we're looking for everybody in Happy Valley. This ties into basically the trouble that we have with our station all of a sudden, it seems to me, is that since COVID, we haven't had enough of the volunteers. So to augment, because that's always been our business model. It's been a hybrid business model. We have augmented our 3 full-time guys with the part-time people. That, I guess, hasn't worked very well lately. I think I more or less think it's because of COVID, but it worked for years before. Now we've been under some stress for a few years, but we're over it. And that was a financial stress. But now we're talking about putting the financial stress back on us again. And this whole argument I'm making is circular because it comes back to what Chief Samantha, I thought, was in agreement with Nate at some point, that it would be advantageous to look at these Firewise / wildland firefighters. I think we have up to 14 of them available as volunteers. We've always had a volunteer hybrid system, and we're a little short on for quite a while. I realize that, but we had 12 or 14 guys, and now another resolution someplace in here says we're going to get rid of the wildland. We're freezing the wildland program. So I'm confused.
So Dick, that's 3 different items. And so we're gonna be able to address
They're
some of
tied
these,
together. They're tied together.
but we need to vote on hiring go through the process, but
On that point,
the $1,000 figure, we don't know that that's $1,000. We
Okay.
don't know what that number is going to be, and that's the person, these folks are going to help us find out what that number is.
Well,
And
a few years ago, we just doubled the parcel on everybody. The Happy Valley community pays what, 2 or 3 times the highest per call in the area. And now we're talking about, after a couple of years of doubling it, we're talking about adding a lot more of a burden to everyone in Happy Valley. I just want to get that straight.
My understanding is, Chair O'Connell, that this proposal, 5.3, with the request for proposal, will conduct a study to determine what that amount is. Right now, we have speculation and people saying what they think it might be, but this proposal will take us into the point where we will have an understanding of what the increase would need to be. Is that correct then?
that is correct.
And it's also correct. It's also correct that we're doing this for what reason, Pat?
We're of all the things that we've had all of these meetings, and the majority of the discussion has been about when we merge, are we going to keep the fire station open or not open?
Okay,
And
I want to make that clear.
the highest priority on our list is to keep the station open.
All right. Now, did we when you say we, is this something that we've asked, we've done a complete study on, you know, with the community? And I, did we vote on that?
We did vote on a set of some of goals that we have set. We have talked about that in the past. As far as the community involvement, that's the next step that's coming into this whole process. Is there will be a series of meetings with the community, with LAFCO, with Scotts Valley, and with Friends of 40's participation. And we'll go through these items and talk to people about it. So again,
Well, I'd like to just, I'd like to just enter in the record, Pat, that is my understanding that they did some looking at the insurance rates, and 80% of the population is going to be covered by Scotts Valley within 5 miles. 80% of this is what Chief Samantha told me, and that Scotts Valley, 80% of the people in Happy Valley would be totally not impacted by any insurance changes because of the 5 mile distance. Is that correct?
may not be correct, Dick. So that's part of the process of what we need to research and let people know about. And we're under the process of doing that. So no, there may be some more discussion on that definitely in the future.
Well, okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept this proposal for consultant?
I move that we accept the request for proposal to enable the staff to create an RFP for this project.
Okay. Motion's been made by Director Dodds. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay,
Chair and Chief, you do have a motion and a second. I will ask if you want to ask the members of the public if anyone has comments on this before you take an official vote on it.
okay. Do you have any comments from anyone in the public who would like to make a comment? You would be limited to 3 minutes.
Chair, I don't see any requests to address the commission on this item. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have a roll call vote.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Nay.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
and Director O'Connell.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to discuss 5.4, the temporary firefighter program. And can we have a presentation from Chief Lucky?
All right, so our proposal is to hire at one time 3 of our volunteers that can work up to 996 hours, which is about four months. They'll be getting, you should have in front of you, I emailed it this afternoon or last night, a pay schedule for them. And it ranges, I believe, from $19 to $25 an hour, depending on their experience. If we can do this, we won't have to pay them benefits or retirement. It'll be for about 4 months, and we'll need 9 volunteers to make the full year. And right now I have 8 that are interested and really want to step up and do this.
So getting a positive response from the current volunteer staff.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Nate, we will be paying workman's comp on these individuals?
Yes, but we already pay workers' comp on them.
Is our rate as high as a firefighter?
They're all the rates are the same.
All the rates the same.
Yep,
Do you know what that is per 100?
I do not. Any questions?
Chief, do you want to
Yeah,
open the public comments before you have a board discussion?
I think Director Landon had a question or a comment.
Yeah, so the idea is we have 8 or 9 of the current volunteers ready to sign up for this program. And this program will cost how much over a year's period? And that's my first question. And the next question is, there is absolutely no other impact fiscally. You said the workman's comp's the same, all the other insurances we carry. I mean, have you looked to see if there's other impacts? I mean, for instance, yeah, workman's comp is a big one because they're all on workman's comp already right now.
Correct.
And if they get hurt in the field, I mean, they're covered. So
Correct.
that won't change. I want to know if there's other fiscal impacts, and I want to know the total cost. And are these guys, I mean, it sounds like now we have to buy our volunteers. And I keep coming back to Chris Norton and Firewise and the Wireland Fire Program, and we had 12 guys lined up. Nate, what was your opinion of that? I mean, are we dropping those experienced wildland fighters? I mean, what if we could get 12 of those guys to sign up for nothing? I mean, that's the idea of a volunteer. So those are my 2 questions.
All right, well, I believe the wildland firefighter positions later on in the agenda, and I'd be more than happy to discuss that. But the total cost, if we estimate with the, as, you know, we have to figure at $25 an hour per
Right.
person, you know,
Yeah.
the budget. So that'll be around $225,000 for the whole year.
Okay.
And we will have to dig into our
Right.
the money that we have left over, and it will impact that, but this should only be a year. And the goal is to transition to Scotts Valley anyway. But that will have 2 staffing 24/7.
Well, I just want to correct you on one thing.
Okay,
You know, I'm all for paying these guys some money so that we know they're there and so that we have, I mean, we didn't have to pay them before, so we got to pay them now because we're between a rock and a hard place, I guess. And we have no other leverage over them or something. They're unionizing on us. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, that's a fact. And, you know, I know you don't want to talk about the fact that we might have some volunteers that are pretty experienced, and we'll talk about that later, but it does impact my decision a little bit on this. There was one other thing. I don't want to waste anybody's time, but there was something else. I'll get back to you on it. Thank you, Nate.
Mhm.
I do have this is Director Dodds. I do have a question. Inside the proposal in the discussion portion, there's, you talk about the relationship with Scotts Valley and Branson Forte, and then what occurred once our agreement with them ended, and any support in the field seems to have ended. Do I understand that correctly?
No, that's not true.
Okay,
They have continued to help out when needed.
the proposal states something different than that.
Okay,
And so I just wanted to, because that was a matter of discussion at one
Well,
point that.
Yeah, and I think what they're trying to point out is that we're not their top priority right now. And they're not going to come to all of our calls. They're going to come to the larger calls that we actually need more than an engine on.
Well, I guess as we're all trying this back on to see how we fit together in a projected new reality, I'm concerned that we're hoping for a relationship that's different than what they're giving us now. And where are we at in saying, hey, you know, if you're our backup, you're our backup, whether that's 2022 or 24, whenever we get this fully enacted. If we're in this together, let's act like we're in this together.
Well, I think that's something that our two committees will need to discuss when we meet up. But they do at this time, if we have a large incident, they send an engine and a battalion chief. We had a pretty substantial incident the other couple weeks ago, and they were there to help us. This is more of the day-to-day medical, other calls that we're only getting one engine, and a lot of times we're by ourselves. And this temporary firefighter program will help with that, and that way we'll have at least two people here that we can actually do help when we go to a vehicle accident and we're first on scene. So
yes, I guess part of my concern is then we go down the road and we merge. What we've then experienced with this temporary firefighter program is a level of coverage that then we may not have.
Yeah, that's
when
correct.
we merge. It's a pretty high cost to experiment with that. I'm not saying I'm not in favor of the coverage. I'm just wanting to ensure that we're all playing together, working together, not on behalf of our boards, but on behalf of the staff and the public, which is.
Well, I truly look at this as safety for my people that are working, and not, whether we're playing well together or not. It's right now, this is a safety issue, and this is one of my main concerns is taking care of the firefighters that work here. And I think this will help, and it's a temporary thing for a year while we move into the consolidation. And I think it's needed.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
something? Pat, I had a question. Can you hear me, Pat?
Yep.
Yeah, I just to clarify, we voted on a resolution last meeting to facilitate Lavco and Scotts Valley to basically merge, and our new chief is talking basically in that language. And Tim is kind of questioning exactly where we're merging and how we're merging. I know these are finer points maybe, but I have to bring them up. The $1,000 proposal per parcel for every Happy Valley, what we just passed, which I didn't vote for, sorry. Since we're dipping into our funds now to pay our volunteers, now we have paid volunteers, and over a year's time, I don't know the exact, we're going to have so many, I imagine we're going to get a lot of volunteers because we're going to pay them $25 an hour. But if this goes through, if that passes, and I think at one point you said that a tax proposal like this November, such as this, would have to pass by 2/3 vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have this money coming in after we have these paid volunteers, and we're kind of sinking our money into that. Is the idea at some point in your mind, Pat, being the director, to not merge with Scotts Valley, but to say, okay, now we have this extra money coming in because there was a 2/3 vote, and we can afford to pay, do this. I know Chief Lackey is saying it's temporary, but it sounds like a plan. If we don't join with Scotts Valley, if we get this money, is that what you're thinking? I just want to know what the board is thinking.
So the overall goal is, again, to merge with Scotts Valley.
Okay.
The goal right now is to have 2 people on that engine at all times. And hopefully 3, because there'll be volunteers involved. So this program that we're talking about now, that's paying these people that are going to be at the station involved in this firefighter program, yes, they're getting paid, but that's going to be coming out of the reserves that we've built up. One of
I
the
know, I
things
understand that.
we want to be careful about is not spending too much money on other things, when in reality the biggest thing that we can do to improve our service right now is to have 2 people on that engine. And
What about
this?
Pat?
I'm still talking. So we have these 2 people on the engines. So this is coming out of our reserves, and this isn't something that's costing an extra tax. What we're looking for in the future is having an agreement with Scotts Valley on how we keep the station open and staffed. And that would be a separate issue. That's what we're going to talk about going forward in determining what that actual cost is. I don't think it's really going to be $1,000, but I don't know what it's going to be. So it just this program that we're doing now with this for the temporary firefighters position is a good measure. It's a good use of our money, and again, the goal at the end of this year is hopefully in the end of the year we're either merged or really close to being merged, and we can continue to do this until that happens.
Pat?
Yes.
Okay. I know everything you just went through. It was excellent. I understand it. The only thing is, at the end of the road, we're spending this money. I don't care. It's a good program. Sounds good to me. After this year, and if the tax goes through, the special parcel tax that we're going to be requesting every Scotts Valley parcel owner to really pony up this time, seriously, we will go to Scotts Valley with that. And we'll say, at that time, when that passes, and we'll say, okay, here's this money coming in now. Are we going to merge? Are you going to keep our station active? Is it going to be staffed? Is our station going to be staffed? I want to know that in this merger.
It is going to be staffed but we will have to have some additional costs, and we need to determine that, and we'll have to ask the voters to make up their mind. It's going to be the choice of the voters. It's not our choice. It'll be finally up to the voters to decide what we're going to do.
What are you going to say? Okay, here's a parcel tax, and we guarantee the station will be manned all the time. Nothing will change, and there'll be 2 men there all the time when Scotts Valley takes it over. Is that what you're going to say?
That's what we're going to try to do. Yes.
Oh. Okay. Well. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments?
I have a question. So if we do merge with Scotts Valley, and let's say that the parcel tax does pass prior to our merging with Scotts Valley, after we merge with Scotts Valley, do the Happy Valley residents continue to pay the additional parcel tax, or does that go into a sunset policy?
No, we would be paying that.
What was that, Pat? I'm sorry.
No, we would be paying that. We wouldn't
We
sunset.
would continue to pay that forever, even though we're merged with Scotts Valley?
Yes,
That people of Happy Valley would continue to pay the additional tax, even though we become part of Scotts Valley Fire District.
that additional tax is going for the costs of Scotts Valley to man that station too.
Okay.
So we're covering a percentage of it for sure. But that's, it's for the services for the people of our district.
Okay, but if we become part of Scotts Valley District, the Scotts Valley people in Scotts Valley do not have to pay such a tax to support Happy Valley. We simply pay a tax to support Scotts Valley merging or taking us under their wing, we'll say.
So some of that is the governance issues that are going to be decided down the road. But you know, there could be different rates for Scotts Valley than Brantford 40. But if there was the costs in the Brantford 40, if that money's coming here, it's going to be used here in Brantford 40. Any other questions?
Pat, just one more thing, okay? If it doesn't pass, what happens?
Then potentially the station could go empty.
You mean there's a good possibility it will be empty?
There's possibilities that we can work something out to do something else, but to have us, everybody wants to have two people on an engine, and hopefully one's a paramedic. That's our goal. That's what we're going to try to do in our merger, is to have that station staff with two firefighters, and one of those will be a paramedic. So that's the service that the people want. And I've asked about-
I only bring that up because it's like Plan B, right? We don't really have a Plan B. Like, so we proposed this really large, I mean, I can't see it passing. Anyway, maybe it will. But my understanding from Chief Samantha is that 80% of our people in Happy Valley would be covered by Scotts Valley, no problem. It's only the people way up on the ridges that might have to wait another minute or two. And there's all, and for what we're asking. I mean, yeah, they might close the station, but from their station in Scotts Valley, Chief Samantha said 80% of the people in Happy Valley would be covered
So I think
sufficiently.
that's a different thing that she was talking about. She was talking about the insurance thing. And
No, it's 5 miles.
5 miles from the station, that whole issue, that's a different equation, part of it's part of the whole thing, but that's a different thing, and you're getting it, you're mixing it up a bit.
Well, we should have a Plan B if it doesn't go through. I'm sure Scotts Valley is going to have their Plan B. I don't know. It seems a little unclear to me, but okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Then we
No,
can go.
I just wanted to add that while I'm concerned about the sustainability and kind of how we're getting back up or not getting back up from Scotts Valley, I think that this is wise for us to enact this on a temporary basis to make sure we get the two firefighters on our engines, and do that for our staff and for our residents at this time. And then we'll see if people value that and what that'll be. So thank you. That's it.
Maybe that's pretty clear. We have a voice vote.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass this resolution.
I'll second Director Dodds.
Motion's been made.
All right, voice vote or roll call vote? Director
Roll call.
Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Van Rys is absent.
Chief, before you move forward, would you like to open up the floor for public comments before you move to the next item? Or Chair O'Connell, I'm sorry.
Yeah, do we have any comments from the community, those who are on Zoom?
I do see one hand raised, Miss Marilyn. Miss Marilyn, I'm asking you to unmute yourself.
I don't know how many other attendees there are to the meeting, but I just would like to try and summarize for those who are a little bit confused still, is that basically the plan moving forward is to merge with Scotts Valley. Whether or not the station stays open, staffed with 2 people at least on an engine at all times, is what the public will be voting on. If they don't vote it, the station does stand a chance of closing. The proposal at hand is just to keep us safe with 2 men on an engine until such time as the decision is made by the public as to whether they are willing to bear that cost going forward into the future when we do merge with Scotts Valley.
That's correct. Nicely summarized.
Thank you, Miss Marilyn. Chair, I do not see any other hands raised to address the commission at this time, or the board at this
Okay,
time.
thank you. Okay, 5.5, adopt the board meeting policy. It's the committees of the board of directors policy and the board of directors roles and responsibilities policy. Can you give us a presentation, Chief Lackey?
It's the recommendation that we approve this. So we can set some policies and for the committees moving forward. We don't have a policy right now, and this will clearly define the roles of for the board meetings, committee policies, and the board's role in policy, or the board's role policy. And if you all have reviewed it,
Okay,
Yes. I think this is some common sense adoption of policy to help guide meetings and committees. Yep.
any questions?
Okay, do we have any public comment?
Chair, I don't see any.
Okay, I do like to encourage people to read the agenda where it describes the various public committees that we're going to have. We've had some committees in the past, and the committees that were helping us have been extremely helpful, and getting public comment through the committees and looking at specific topics is going to be a big part of how we move forward. So if people would like to participate in committees, there's discussions in there or descriptions on how those committees are formed and what committees are available.
Hey, Pat,
Yeah,
are we forming some new ad hoc committees right now?
we're gonna, when we had these committees, we had we didn't have much description about what we were doing or how we went about things.
Yeah, I know.
And so these solidify the the committees that existed and how we work together and do. So
The ones that exist?
the ones that exist, but we will probably have more than one committee. There'll be multiple committees that we'll have.
Is this, Pat, did you write this document?
No, I didn't.
Who generated it?
This document was with the help of LAFCO. And
Okay, I'm just reading it too, like, I guess we're getting ready to have more committees or something.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely could use some, this is going to be a big process going through moving forward, and committees will definitely be helpful. And be representative of our community.
Are your plans to have the committees present to the public? You're talking about the public in this, we're doing this big study to put through this new parcel tax. Are they, I mean, is that their primary duty to report to the public and also?
No, they'll be involved in some of the meetings that we have, but they'll be gathering information. It's like looking up a lot of different things that we've already been looking at, but focusing on what it is that we want moving forward. And
I just worried about a lot of different messages. That's all.
I think we're going to be trying to focus our messages.
Okay.
So we're just going to be open and focused about it. Okay.
Any other questions? Any hands up?
I don't see any.
Chief.
Do we have a vote to
We have a motion?
motion?
Let me move we adopt the board meeting policy, the committees of the board directors policy, the board of directors roles and responsibilities policy.
Do we have a second? I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call for voice. Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Vanrus is absent. Okay.
Okay.
Chair O'Connell, before you move forward, I'm just looking at the notes, and I'm not sure if we did a roll call vote for 5.1 to ratify the interim fire chief contract. Just for the record, do you mind if we just do a roll call vote for that? I know the board approved it, but just for the record.
Okay. Chief Lackey.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll take the motion up.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Motion made by Director Landon and seconded by Director Dodds.
All right. Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Vanrus is absent.
Thank you, board members.
All right.
We're at 5.6.
Okay, 5.6, resolution for 2022 to transfer funds within the fiscal year. Nate, you want to give a presentation?
So this resolution is for us to borrow $350,000 from the county during the dry period. So we're still waiting for our second part of the annual taxes, property taxes, and this, we're going to have to borrow $350,000 at a very low interest rate until we get the rest of our taxes, which will be April 28th. So a very short time,
We pretty much do this every year.
every year. Yep, correct.
I'll make a motion to pass 5.6.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion,
And then
voice vote.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Van Rest is absent.
Okay, moving on to 5.7. Were there any questions from the public on this? Nope.
Chair, I didn't see any hands raised.
Okay. So 5.7, adopt the resolution 22-3 to establish appropriation limit for the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Nate?
So this is another annual resolution that we have to do. Our appropriations limits are basically the amount of money we're allowed to spend. And the county gives us the numbers each year to allow us to spend the money that we need to with, and it has to be increased every year. And this year, let's see, it's $1,265,466 is what it's increased. And all the special districts have to do this.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public?
Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Have we had any written comments from the public, Nate?
No.
Okay. Do we have any discussion from the board? Board members have any questions for the staff? Do we have a motion to take a motion to vote on this?
I move that we adopt resolution 2022-3.
Motion made by Director Dobbs. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Director Landon, Director Landon. I think there's a tie there, but.
All
Okay,
ties go to me.
all right, you got it.
Okay, voice vote. Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Van Rest is absent.
Okay, 5.8, approve the hiring of an administrative person. Nate?
So when Chief Sweden was here, we had an admin that took care of bills and payroll. And there's a lot more needed. There's been a lot that has been missed. And I need the help to be able to make sure I get all the bills paid, the payroll done, all the annual reports that are needed by the state, and make sure all of our benefits are taken care of. And so it's my recommendation that we hire an administrative assistant for 15 to 19 hours a week. That way we do not have to pay benefits similar to the part-time or the temporary firefighter. But this will not be temporary. This will be for the year.
Is this a permanent position?
I'm going to assume it's going to be until the consolidation with Scotts Valley.
Can we review that after 6 months, 3 months, something like that, and see how things are going?
I don't see why not.
Do we know the impact on the budget for this position?
We already have some of it budgeted in for the extra help. It shouldn't impact the budget too much.
That's a little ambiguous.
What about Scotts Valley helping us? Come on.
I mean, I'm in favor of the support, but I'd like to now know what the impact is going to be on the budget, since we just approved another item that has a pretty large impact on our budget and funds.
Okay,
Do you have numbers, don't you?
I do have an hourly wage. I do not have a monthly or annual cost. I can get that to you if you'd like, and we can.
But I think there is a number that was in the budget for administrative help, like you said. And
Yeah,
this
there was.
fits in with the budgetary number pretty closely.
Correct.
And what
So-
is the salary based on? What is
Experience.
that number?
Depending on if they have any experience with the county already, or they've never done anything with a special district before, how they are with Excel, how they are with board packets and resolutions, because I'm going to need help with that as well.
Okay.
Is there a person in mind for this position?
The lady that's doing it now has expressed interest in it, but we're going to have to put it out there for applicants.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Do you have any written comments on this item?
Nope.
Okay. Do we have any further board discussion? Okay, then do we have a motion to recommend? Does
I'll
anybody
make a
want-
motion to approve that, provided within 3 months that we review it and renew it in 3 months' time. Or decline, renew or decline in 3 months.
Okay. Nate, you'll have to perform a review.
I can do that.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
The motion made by Director Meyer and seconded by Director Dodds.
All right, Director Dodds. Vote.
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
and Director Van Rist is absent.
Okay. Now we're moving on to other business. There are 2 items that require discussion but may not require board action.
Chair, we still need to move to 5.11. 5.9 and 5.10 were moved to the next board meeting, but we still have 5.11.
5.11. And 5.11 is direct staff to freeze the volunteer wildland firefighter position. So, Chief Lackey.
Yes, sir. So this was, I inherited this. I have done some research. I at this time, with the goals that I've been given to work on this consolidation. I don't feel that I have the time or the manpower to really work on this at this time. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I just don't think now's the right time for our district to be working on this.
Can you give us an overview of what it is?
I don't have any direct, there was nothing left for me to, there was no real job description or anything. And for me, as a fire chief, I look at a wildland firefighter, and they're going to have all the qualifications as a firefighter. And for 5% of our calls, it's not really worth, or it could be worth it, but now I don't have the time to work on that with the consolidation and all the other things that are, all the other goals I've been given.
So Nate,
Yes,
at one point, weren't you and Chief Samantha like going along with this idea?
I haven't ever had any input on this
Oh,
before.
well, do you know what Chief Samantha's idea was behind it?
I have no idea.
Wow. Okay, so is this associated with Chris Norton in any way?
I don't know why she proposed this.
Oh. Well, I think it was to continue our hybrid. I know you don't like that idea, Nate, personally, but it was our hybrid was volunteers and paid staff. And so now we're putting all our marbles into the basket. We're gonna pay everybody, all the volunteers, so that we're guaranteed we have 2 men, and I appreciate that very much. But here we had my understanding is that we had a bunch of guys, very experienced, ready to come in and help us. You did comment that 5% of our stuff is wildland fires, so we can't use them in any other capacity. It's hard for me to understand. But I know maybe they're not a little lacking in some of the equipment operation. I thought they're very experienced from what I heard. But yeah, they might be lacking in some areas, but doesn't that come with, like, you know, you put them on some runs and just like any volunteer and you show them how it's done? I appreciate also that you're a new chief and your time right now is pretty tight, you know, because you're you know, breaking everything in. And maybe the solution is to just put all our marbles in one basket. But it seems like we might be ignoring something like in Plan B that I mentioned. Like these guys are really well versed in wildland fires, and what's the most dangerous thing in everybody's mind up on the ridge and around here and in California and the governor? What's the most important thing? Wildland fires, because they just destroy everything. And here we have potential to get a group of guys that are really experienced in that. And it seems like we could work with them a little bit so we could have these guys as our hybrid model that we've always had as volunteers. And they're stepping right up. They made the applications. That's my understanding. So you have to appreciate what I'm saying too. I appreciate what you're saying, Nate, but you have to appreciate that I want to protect the biggest danger is wildland fires. I hope you agree with that.
I think that's a very large danger.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, sure. We don't have any wildland fires right now, or we haven't had that many, but it's very dry. It's another dry season. We might be in this for quite a while. Personally, 2 houses down, they were flying planes and everything else, and the redwoods were on fire 2 houses down from me. We were watching it for quite a while, a couple of years ago. So I mean, there's nothing that will put the fear of God in you when you see that wall of fire coming down the ridge or up the ridge at you. And here we got these experienced guys I mean, all the way, I mean, they're experienced in their specialty, yes, but they're not, I mean, obviously they're not gonna lack in other areas too. And I don't know why we're freezing this. I almost think it's political because Cal Fire doesn't want anything to do with them. I don't know for sure. I'm guessing, but I don't understand us not using it. So I'm not really for this. Okay, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I think understanding that there's more than just handing out gear to people that say they're experienced. There's laws now that we have to give people training and all that stuff. We have liability insurance and workman's comp that we have to worry about. There's a lot of other things that we have to worry about financially and legally that we just can't hand out gear to people without them going through some kind of documented training with us.
Well, we have training.
Hey, Nate.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Nate,
Yes.
did Chief Sweden leave a program for you
No, she did
with
not.
this?
No, she did not.
So what are we freezing then? So it doesn't sound like there's anything to actually freeze at this point.
All I have is a flyer that requested applications for a volunteer firefighter.
So I think that 5.11 is almost a moot point because there is no program to place them in. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Are there any credentials of their training?
Is Becky Steinbrenner out there? She knows a lot about this too. And my understanding is Joe also had a long conversation with Nick Norton about this, and my understanding was he was very happy to listen to the whole idea, and it might be a plan B. The plan B being the tax doesn't go through. We have the wildland fire guys close by, and I really like that. In other words, the station could be used if it does. I mean, in Scotts Valley, you know, they'll store equipment. I don't know what they're going to do if the resolution doesn't go through to increase these taxes a lot on the people around here. I don't see it going through. Maybe you guys know something I don't know, and maybe Scotts Valley knows something I don't know. But Joe talked to this fella, and he's very experienced. I talked to him. He knows a lot of stuff. He's got these volunteers lined up, and our previous chief was really hot about it. And I mean, it's like a twofer. If it's plan B, if the tax doesn't go through, we'd have these guys like, and my understanding too, they're they can write grants. The money is from the state. The money is there. And they could be close by for wildland action for Scotts Valley and us next year, if we just stay on board with it a little bit, or give it a chance, or listen to these people. I asked Chris to put together a presentation, you know, on everything, the mission statements, finances, command structure. I ran it to Pat. I thought Pat was on board with it too. That's the only thing I ever talked to Pat about in the last month, was just that. So I don't know. I don't know why we're turning our back on such a possibility, such a life-saving possibility.
Do we know if the state pays their salaries, and or do they become our employees when they become in our district?
I think they're autonomous. The way Chris explained it to me, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars now they're working with. It came from state grants. There's money out there. The governor made sure there was some money for wildland firefighters, and he applied for the grant. And I don't know where he is tonight, but it looks like we're cutting him off at the ankles, and he just gave up. But maybe Joe has some input on this, because I know he presented the idea to Joe and Becky. I don't know if Becky's still there, but I'd be really interested to hear from either one of them about this.
Well, unfortunately, Chris hasn't reached out to me to discuss this.
Wow.
I believe he's reached out to 4 of the 5 board members. He's left me out of the loop as your fire chief, and he's left the director out of the loop. And, you know, I honestly don't know where he's, I would love to talk to him.
He didn't even know you were the new interim chief. He didn't the last time I talked to him. So anyway,
So Dick, there's 2 different things that Chris Norton talks about. And one is their volunteer program. The other is the prescribed burn folks. And so the statewide program that
yeah,
relates back is more about those folks.
Yeah.
Which Chris belongs to both groups, as far as I understand. So yeah, he hasn't sent a formal proposal of any sort.
I
So
think we should.
you-
I think we should put this issue on the side burner and give him a chance.
Well, there's 2 different issues, and the other issue with the folks from the prescribed burn group will probably come up again, because they're going to make proposals, but they haven't made a formal proposal. So what, as far as the volunteer program, Chief Sweden had planned on making them have to do some level of training to make it acceptable. The level of training, called an FFT2, is a very basic training. It consists of multiple classes, 3-4 classes, and all of those classes you can get online. And they have so there's there is a difference in the level of experience on these people, and if you take them on to do this, there were some details that haven't been figured out yet to make that work. But the biggest part of that deal that hasn't been figured out is the liability that this could cause. So just, I was thinking about this when this came up. And if you remember a few years back, when Scotts Valley and Branciforte, along with some other departments in the district, were all on a strike team, and they were doing a progressive hose lay. That would be the kind of work that somebody that hopefully would be a wildland firefighter to help would be participating in, helping with the progressive hose lay. It's a basic tenet. So during that strike team call out, they were working downhill, and the people that were on uphill started yelling rocks, rocks, which meant that rocks were coming down the hill towards them. Two firefighters were hit, one from Scotts Valley and one from Branciforte. The one from Branciforte was more seriously hurt. He spent a lot of time and had serious injuries to his shoulder, and it had surgeries, and it took him 2.5 years to get to where he could go back to work again. So that liability laid with us as the district, because that's who we was attached to. If we, you think about it, somebody doing wildland stuff could definitely break a leg, do lots of different things could happen during a wildland fire. So the liability part of this component of the volunteer firefighter program hadn't been worked out or dealt with, or even our insurance group gave us an idea of how this would work. So liabilities are a big issue. Right now, I couldn't say we couldn't try this again, but right now we've got a lot of things on our plate, a lot of things that are important. And there are costs involved. It's not like they can just come in and we wouldn't have to buy them gear, do a lot of other things to do. But right now, the timing, there needs to be a lot more details that we worked out before we could consider it again. So we're not saying that we can't consider this in the future, but it does mean that we need to put it on hold while we deal with all these extra costs that may be involved or extra rules and requirements. So it's not, like I said, this is asking it to freeze, not to say we can't do it.
Chair O'Connell, this is Joe Serrato. Do you mind if I can provide additional comments?
No, I think that it would be good for you to do that.
Great, thank you. And Board Member Landon, you're correct. I have had discussions with Chris Norton on this option, and I've been consistent with telling Mr. Norton and this board that all options should be considered. And what's important to identify is that this board decided to move forward with a merger with Scotts Valley Fire after reviewing LAFCO's countywide fire report and after holding multiple board meetings to see whether or not this makes sense for the board and after adopting multiple resolutions. So there was a process that went in order for the board to say, yeah, this makes sense. And this evening, the board adopted a request for a proposal to hire an outside consultant to do the analysis to determine how much that benefit assessment is going to be to keep the fire station open. So there's this whole process that the board has done to be transparent and thorough on making decisions. What happened here, and this is my observation, is this volunteer wildland firefighter position option is, again, not a bad idea, but it was just out there without any input from the board, any action from the board, any analysis from staff. So what my understanding is that what's being presented by your chief is not to remove the position, but just to freeze it so that the board can focus on their goals. And if this is an item that they want to explore, you take the necessary steps. You do the analysis, you hold multiple board meetings to discuss it, and then you take action. And if you do the analysis and turns out that this is something that should be explored more further, then you can take the appropriate steps. So I think that's what your chief is trying to do here, is just freeze this position, get direction from the board, and see whether or not the board wants to analyze this or not. And based on the chief's comments, he has a lot on his plate already. And he's really changing the dynamics and the information that's being provided to the board. He's doing staff reports and attachments, and that takes time and effort because the board has identified goals that he needs to focus. And this wildland firefighter position is not one of those priority goals that have been outlined for him. So I think that's why he's looking at the priorities. But that doesn't mean that this item is being removed or being just eliminated. It's just being put on pause. This job description is being put on pause for the board to focus on their priorities. And at that point, later down the road, if this is an option to explore, then you take the appropriate steps. And that, again, that was just my observation. And you're absolutely right, Board Member Landon. In the event that the benefit assessment is not approved, there should be an option B, an option C, an option D. And that's what the reorganization process is going to look at. When we develop a plan for service between Branson 40, LAFCO, and Scotts Valley Fire, we're going to look at those options. They're going to say, option A is to keep this fire station open with at least the two-member crew. If that's not approved, what's our other options? And that needs to be outlined so that there is a plan in place. And that's what the first steps is going to be, is develop a plan, present it to the residents and the board. That way we're on the same page as we move forward with the process. And Chief Chair O'Connell, those are my only comments that I had.
Thank you, Joe.
Chief?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. I knew you were hiding out there. Hey, I'd like to make a motion, to invite Chris, and his presentation. And like I said, he could be putting together something for Plan B for the whole community out here that would protect us from wildland fires and fund itself. It could be self-funding. And if we do it now, we do it now. If we wait, in Scotts Valley, whatever happens with this proposal to everybody in the county and in Happy Valley, and it doesn't go through, and the station becomes empty, that's stupid when we had this chance. It's just, I mean, that's my opinion. I would like to just shelve it, freeze, whatever, want to freeze it, okay, freeze it. But I want to see and give Chris his opportunity, and maybe, Becky would help him out because she's his chairing staff. They have talked to the county supervisor Manu about this. I guess it was shot down. That's why I said it might have been political, because of training and CAL FIRE and the grants. Everybody wants to get grants. These guys could be up for grants. His organization is not solo. They're up north. They're real important for saving a lot of wildland fires up there, and they did excellent job from my understanding. Now I might be wrong on that. Maybe this is all a pipe dream, but I want to see something about it, because I care about our community. I care about that station. If we can't collect the taxes, like extraordinary amount of tax, like I said, our calls are more expensive than anybody else around us, like 3 times the price. So I don't, okay, freeze, but I want to see an agenda item. I want to see, I'll take ownership. I will talk more with Chris and whoever else and see if he can put together what he indicated. And I think he might have indicated a lot of this stuff at higher levels than us already. Okay, so I'm finished. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Any further discussion?
Chair, you do have a hand raised from the public. Would you like them to have an opportunity to address the commission at the board at this time?
Yes.
And I'm sure you've been asked to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you very much for the discussion. Very much appreciate everything that that you have on your plate in this coming year, particularly you, Nate, coming into this position as well. The wildfire, the wildland firefighter situation is of course very important to many of us, almost everybody, I would assume, because Branciforte is such a rural area. And, if we do need to, if the board does decide to freeze this position for now, I definitely support and agree with what Dick was saying as far as continuing the discussion, having a commitment to continue this discussion, rather than putting it down and just letting it languish, when there is definitely this energy around and a desire to see something constructive happen around it. And, I would, and then finally, I would just say that, it's more than this concept that Dick brought up as far as inviting Chris to brief the board. It's really, it's not, of course, just for the board, but it's also for the community at large. And it's difficult in this new Zoom environment that we've got here, where we can't really tell who is on the call, etc. But I mean, I would certainly appreciate hearing more about this concept, and I don't doubt that many other members of the community who are listening into this board meeting would as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I as the chief, I would really like to hear what Chris Norton has to say. Again, I am not saying this is a really bad idea or anything. I just have not heard from Chris or anybody else what their goal is and what their plan is. And that's all.
I have to say one more thing, okay, and I'll shut up. If we pass this right now, I think it's a slap in the face of the whole idea. And, you know, this takes energy from Chris's side and on up. You know what I mean? His superiors, his connections, the people he's talked to, it's a slap in their face. So I'm not voting for it. And I would like to shelve it right now and or change it for the next meeting and say, let's invite Chris Norton right away and anybody else. He wanted to bring a fire chief down from up north that was very, very influential in fighting paradise fires, I think, up there, and his experiences in wildland firefighters and that organization. Now there is money, like I said, for this, so that would be part of the whole package that I assume we would be introduced to. So on a fiscal basis, it like makes so much sense as a plan B, which Joe agrees with me. We in plan B, C, D, we don't have one of them. So I would like to shelve 5.11. I'm not voting for it. I want these guys to show up. I want to hear what they have to say. And I want you guys to hear I want the whole community to hear what they have to say. It's fair because I think, you know, we had a problem that Pat brought up. It's anecdotal. I mean, I want bodies to fight, experienced bodies to fight any wildland fire around these areas. As many bodies as we can have, as close as we can have. They could use that station as a focal point of their whole organization, of their, you know, central. They have a northern organization. We could be the central organization. And it would be right down the road. So that's what I think. And Nate, you can withdraw it if you feel at all that you want to hear from Chris. And that's what I recommend, withdrawing this. Because it's a slap in the face. Okay, I'm done again.
All right. Dick, I do think that there's other opportunities outside of our board meeting to have that discussion with Mr. Norton and his group. And my only advice to him would be to talk to Chief Lackey first, because he's the person that he needs to talk to in our district. This is an operational decision, and it's going to be under him. It's not necessarily a board decision. So that's where I feel about it at the moment. Do we have any more discussion? Okay.
So quick question. So again, there is no program right now. I think a number of people have heard of grants, of approaches, of volunteers, but there is no program description. There is no strategic plan. And the only thing, is there an application at the station currently? So I guess, Chief, is there something there that somebody could walk in and fill out an application?
I believe it's on LinkedIn or one of those websites. It's linked somewhere. I haven't even got to that.
So I'm in favor.
We do have some applications.
So I'm in favor of pausing and accepting no more applications until we know what it is, what the program is, how it would be run, the legal liabilities. There's just too many open questions. Now, all of those can be answered and all of that can be worked through, But right now, let's pause in accepting any new applications into a position that has very little definition or a way to use them. I think it's an injustice to people who come in and fill that out thinking that there is something when there is not. So I'm in favor of pausing any new applications into something that doesn't exist at this point.
Okay, so we've
Is that a motion, Board Member Dodds?
yeah, that's.
Yes, I'll make that a motion that we, in regards to item 5.11, we freeze any new applications, the acceptance of any new applications for a volunteer wildland firefighter position.
Do we have a second to the motion? I'll second the motion. Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded and we have a vote. Voice vote. Voice vote.
Right. Director O'Connell,
Aye.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
and Director Vanris is absent.
Okay, it's now 6.1. And these are items for information and discussion, and they may not require board action. The first one is the fire chief's operational update.
All right, directors, we've continued to work on the building. We have plans that are submitted to the county for the remodel of the kitchen. We have plans that are at the engineer for the repair of the exterior of the building. Unfortunately, it's going to take 2 to 3 months for the engineers to finish that. We were lucky, evidently we were lucky to find one that would take the job. I don't know if any of you have driven by the station recently in the last week or two, but we started putting up a sign. We're in the process of ordering a sign that will, we can put the letters in, and so everybody can kind of see what's going on, and we can keep everybody in the district informed. Continue to work with LAFCO and Scotts Valley, and the academy will be completed the 2nd of May, and we should have 7 new volunteers that are out of the academy and ready to work. And that's all I have.
Okay, do we have any questions for the chief from the public?
Chair, I don't see any requests at this time.
Do we have any questions from the board for the chief? I'd just like to comment that things are moving forward. There has been some progress on a lot of items. And so, yeah, Nate's been busy. But I'm really glad to see the sign going up too. Glad to see Mario out there working on that today. And that'll be nice to go by and we can drive by again and see when the board meetings are and any other updates on the process. Okay. No board action required. Ad hoc reorganization committee. Nate, can you make a presentation?
Yes, since it's time to figure out a new ad hoc committee for the reorganization.
We're talking about the committee that goes and meets with Scotts Valley and LAFCO together.
Correct.
So this is different than the other citizens committee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what is, I know they have a suggestion on how it's made up.
Yeah, I believe so.
Um, well, Joe can address it, but I believe it's, they're asking for 2 board members from each group, the fire chief from each department, and Joe Serrano, and potentially one of the other directors from LAFCO. So it's just a similar formed group that meets. Is that what you understand, Joe?
You're absolutely right, Chair. I just want to give kudos to this board of the immense of progress this board and your chief have made in a short period of time. You've unanimously adopted a resolution to initiate the merger. You unanimously adopted a pre-reorganization agreement. You submitted an application to start the reorganization process, and you're going to be holding not only community workshops, but you're also working closely with Scotts Valley Fire and LAFCO, and those are through joint ad hoc committee meetings. And for consistency, it would be appropriate for this board to identify 2 board members. It could be your president and vice president, or it can be any 2 board members, because Scotts Valley Fire has identified 2 board members and their fire chief to be at these joint ad hoc meetings. And LAFCO has identified 1 commissioner to provide assistance as well. So it may be beneficial for this board to form a new reorganization agreement and identify 2 board members to participate in those discussions moving forward. And as far as the current community committee that you have with the residents, that can continue. But I think it would be more appropriate to have a 2-member board or 2 board members to be on this new ad hoc committee to be joining LAFCO and Scotts Valley Fire in the future.
Okay, yeah, we had 1 member of the one of the citizens committee and myself attending those meetings in the past. The idea of sending the chairman and the vice chair, I would be in favor of doing that. If that's something that we need to vote on, I would ask for a motion.
I move that we form a new ad hoc reorganization committee. Do you want the makeup, or are we just forming the committee and then choosing the makeup?
Well, I think we can say we can form the committee because we have to do it anyway.
Right.
But it's just the makeup. I think if we see who's the vice chair.
Sure. As vice chair, I'm willing to serve in that capacity.
Okay, and I would be willing to continue to serve in that capacity too. So can we make a motion to have the chair and the vice chair be members of the ad hoc committee for the reorganization committee, the ad hoc reorganization?
I will say that's an excellent idea.
Is that a motion?
That would be my kind of motion, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to accept Director Dodds and Director O'Connell to be on the ad hoc committee. Do we have a second?
I'll second that good idea.
Thank you, Kurt. So we've had a motion made and seconded. Take a roll call vote.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
and Van Rys is absent.
Okay. Okay, so we're at 7. which is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence to discuss?
No, we do not.
Okay, board member comments. Do any of the board members wish to make a comment at this time?
Yeah, I can't shut up, can I? I would like to know, I think they dropped the mask requirements, right? So when can we have like a regular meeting and invite the public?
You know, in moving forward, I think that we can eventually have a regular meeting, but I think actually having it on Zoom is a benefit to the people in the community. We don't have we don't have a very big room to have everybody if we want to have a 10 people show. So I would suggest we look into a hybrid form of a meeting in the future. So that's just my take on it. I think we by our next meeting, there'll probably be an update on what the current conditions are at that time. And maybe we can see what we can do. So do you have any comments on board meetings?
So really good question from board member Landon, and that's something that in LAFCO's side with our commissioners, we're bringing that up to our commission at our next meeting to see whether or not the commission will like to continue virtual meetings because we're still under a state of emergency, or revert back to in-person meetings. So that may be something that your board can have as an agenda item in your next agenda packet to have that same discussion. Continue virtual meetings or revert back to in-person meetings, and LAFCO can work with your chief to do an analysis to see what are the pros and cons and what's best for your board and your residents.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments from the board? Do any of the staff or board have any items to discuss before adjournment? Do we have anything for good of the order? I would like to thank the board, Mr. Serrano, and the staff for helping us get it through our first meeting with the new format. It seems like we got used to it much better as we moved along. And
Chair, I do see a hand raised from a member of the public. I'm not sure if you want to allow them an opportunity to address the board.
Okay, sure.
Ms. Katie Freeman, you've been asked to unmute yourself. Ms. Katie Freeman. Let's see, I'll give her another minute. Sorry, Chair, we're having issues with her unmuting her microphone.
Oh,
well, hopefully she can reach out to the board after the board meeting and we can answer her questions or comments that she has.
okay. She can contact me.
Yes, Miss. Oh, she put her hand down. Sorry.
Okay. All right, any other comments then? We have a
No.
motion to adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting will be on May 19th.
All righty. Well, thank you, board members and members of the public for joining this evening. Without any more comments, Chair, I'll end the meeting.
Okay, meeting
Thank you, Chair.
adjourned.
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
7:49.
Chair O'Connell. Right.
Take care, everyone.
All right.
Good job, Chief.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Joe.
Teamwork.